Hello, everybody. Welcome to Immigration Live, episode number 7. Can you believe that we're on number 7? We're rolling. And today it's part 2. Margarita Jane Dentino, part 2 of our interview. I cut her off abruptly last time, so I decided to come right back with it. And we got a lot more to share with you. Hi, Margarita. How's everything on the East Coast?
Oh, hi, Carlos. It's wonderful to be together again. We're fine. We're in the struggle, and it's nice to partner with our people in California. And today,
well, hey, I hope I hope your commentary lights up the masses today. Let's get them all excited. Join the movement. Get out there. Join the struggle. Oh, we're in a struggle, aren't we? Hey, you know what? Hey, if you're out there in live land, say something. Oh, we have a guest. Let's see who we have here. Oh, Chastity. She says hi. Do you want to say hi to her? Hey, I know that.
Hi, Chastity.
I know it.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm going to show you our 2 students who are with us today, too.
Yeah. Hey, Chastity, anyone else out there? Say hi. See, and Chastity has that big circle around her name. That's where her face should be, but that's her logo. So we need her next time to put her face in. But anyway, Chastity, feel free to ask a question. Anyone else out there, feel free to ask a question, and I'll certainly dump it on Margarita.
Oh, well, we're working together.
Yeah. So today, what I'd like to do, let's start I want to talk to you. You mentioned last time towards the end of the show, that you have some volunteers, and that your volunteers basically work for free, and they're college students, and they're smart folks, and I remember those days, the days of unbridled optimism. So if you don't mind, I'd like to talk to a couple of them.
So
are they?
Hi.
Hello. So who is going first?
I'll be fine.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. So we have Vivian here. Vivian, would you like to say hello to everyone?
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Hi.
And with her is Noah Mesta, right? Okay. So let's start with you, Vivian. How did you get involved with Casa Freehold?
Actually, it was Noah's introduction to the place. I was looking for summer internship opportunities and possibly with a nonprofit. And Noah's my friend from high school. So he was like, hey, I'm working at this lovely nonprofit organization.
Hey, so what high school did you go to so you can give them a shout out right here for the world to hear?
Down to Marlboro High School?
Yeah.
All right. You're supposed to say with pride, dun dun, the cheering song.
Go Mustangs.
Was that our slogan? I don't remember.
Sure.
So were the two of you involved in things like student government or anything extracurricular affairs? No.
In the business.
Oh, you were just.
Yeah, student government isn't that much of a thing.
Yeah, in our school, the student government didn't really have much authority, or any power or structure.
It was just basically the prom planning committee.
Yeah, it was a prom planning.
So we didn't really care much for that. We were both involved in sort of political clubs during high school.
So you were both involved in student politics or not?
Not particularly. There wasn't really a student politics.
We were in like political discussion clubs, but not really an activist until college.
Okay. And what turned you into activists?
I would say fundamentally our beliefs have remained unchanged since like middle school.
I think we've both been, we've just see the world as having a lot of, there's a lot of things that aren't so good, and it's our duty as people who can make a difference to try to make a difference.
When I still recall my first day in college, I had a history professor, and he was from Long Island, and he got up on the board and he said to us, he had his back to us for about 5 minutes after class started, and everyone's sitting there. Then he turns around and he pounds his fist on the desk and he says, I can't sleep at night because Richard Nixon is my president. And then he turned his back to us again. And then another 5 minutes, pounds his hand on the desk, and then he's like, I can't sleep at night because Spiro Agnew is my vice president. And he turns around again. About 5 more minutes. Then he turns around the third time and he pounds the desk. I can't sleep at night because Ronald Reagan is my governor. Class dismissed. And that was my first college professor. And he, politically, he's been the most influential person of my life. Those first 15 minutes woke me up from not knowing anything in politics to wanting to know everything. I mean, it really was an opening. So I understand college is an eye-opener for a lot of folks. And but what brought you to immigration specifically?
So I can, I brought you to immigration specifically. Well, I mean, it was a thing, but I brought you here. So I'll say on a personal level, so the way I found about Casa Freehold was last summer. I was interning with some state legislators in our area. And one of the things they did is, they kept track and kept relationships with different organizations, nonprofits, businesses, etc. And Casa Freehold was sort of one of the organizations on the big list I was helping out with. And, I took note of it when I saw it because it just seemed like it did some really good things. And I wrote down the name. And I basically put it in my pocket for 6 months. And then, obviously that was the summer of 2016. So the election came a couple months later and everyone was kind of dumbfounded about what happened. And I sort of just took it out of my pocket and I decided that because of all this stuff going on in America, I felt like I didn't have a choice but to be an activist and try to make things better. So that's how I know specifically because immigrant communities are especially targeted today.
And so, did you influence Vivian or did she influence you?
I mean, I asked if he had any summer opportunities. Really, that was what kickstarted this. And Noah was going around looking for people to recruit for Casa Freehold so he wouldn't have to do the labor for himself.
I was doing work. Just a lot of work for one person to do.
But I'm the daughter of 2 immigrant parents. It's not an issue I'm unfamiliar with, I feel like. My mom's from China, my dad's from Japan. I feel like if there's any point to be active in the immigrant community, it should be now.
Mm-hmm.
With the current
so are you like they were immigrants, so you're first generation here, the US. Oh, okay, that same situation I was in, so and what are your parents' views towards immigration?
My dad's
they agree with you or they think you're off your rocker? Be truthful here.
My dad's still a Japanese citizen, so he said if it gets too bad, we can still go back. So
how about your mother?
Mother, same thing. She was a huge Clinton supporter in 2008. So I think this election really was sort of like, wow, she's like, if we want to move to Canada, you have your sister's husband to trust in.
And how about you, Noah? What's your family's immigrant history there? Now you do have one, right? No, I'm kidding. I know everyone does.
My grandmother on my mother's side was born in Sicily, and she immigrated just after World War II to the United States. While on my father's side, both of my I think it's my great-great-grandparents moved over from what was then part of Austria in Eastern Europe right before World War I. And so wow. I guess although both my parents were born here, my grandma, who is an immigrant, has been sort of an influence on me all my life.
That's interesting. Now, do you think, and maybe you've never thought about it, but a lot of times, there's this debate on immigration. In fact, I posted an article yesterday on my Facebook page about the real history of immigration. Do you think like that generation, like Vivian is first generation, whereas you're second generation U.S. Do you think that there's not just that it's one generation or another, but do you think that has an effect in how the public views immigration? Because a lot of times they refer to the older immigrants versus the newer immigrants.
I'd say there definitely is a almost a distinction in sort of public view of different generations. for example, there's the whole idea that quote unquote like first generation children of immigrants are like quote unquote anchor babies born here so their parents could stay, while with say second, third generation they're just not seen that way. So I think that that definitely has a factor in sort of public view, and there's also just the obvious factor of sort of, I guess, race. How old, like for example, there's the newer immigrants tend to be, Hispanic, Asian, just not white, and they're seen as therefore they're seen as more foreign than sort of the older groups of immigrants by sort of American society.
Yeah, thank you. We're going back to that debate. We're going back to the debate that we had in the early 60s about immigration with Trump's new merit-based immigration system, which I'm not going to get into it here. I've written quite a bit about it, what I really think about it. But, anyway, so tell me, Vivian, how has working with Casa Freehold shaped you going forward in your career? I mean, has it given you, I might want to do this, or I might want to do that, versus when you first started working there?
I mean, when I first started working, I was also a little bit more undecided on, even my major, for example. I was going to the business program to continue what I learned in high school. But I think working here made me realize like how much nonprofit work actually like not only just matters to the community, but also like matters to, I guess you could say, me personally. From this point on, I was thinking of maybe pursuing something more intensely in labor relations and working closely directly with people, because we've had a lot of exposure to immigration lawyers who've done wonderful things for Casa Freehold. And there's been like many day laborers who've been very kind, and all the people I've interacted with have just been really inspiring, I could say.
Wow. And Noah, how about you?
So I'm currently an international relations major, and with a focus.
Yay! That was my major.
And with my sort of focus on, I'm currently planning on focusing on human rights within that major. And this has sort of almost cemented my decision in that, because the more I work here, the more I see that sort of human rights, workers' rights, immigrants' rights are just so very intertwined, and it's like you can't have you like almost can't have one without having the other. It seems like just in general, justice and rights for everyone, it seems almost like all or nothing, I guess.
And so one last question here. So are either one of you thinking about becoming a lawyer?
Yeah, we're both thinking about it.
We've had discussions. It's something I would definitely, one of the things that I would definitely consider doing after college, like going to law school.
Hey, that's nice. That's nice. You know, what I say, because a lot of, your stories about a lot of lawyers burning out. I tell people, if you're going to be a lawyer, choose a subject area that you love. Absolutely choose something, because it's a tough profession. And if you choose an area that you love, it's a lot easier to be a lawyer, because you're basically fighting for a cause or a belief or a philosophy that you believe in. So, if you decide to do that, I would suggest, think about it very carefully, because a lot of lawyers go to law school and then, for financial reasons, they feel that they've got to take a job, and it's not necessarily what they love. And then, you read all the negative stories about lawyers burning out, quitting the profession, they're unhappy. And I think a lot of it is because they just don't do what they really love. Just do what you love and do it as well as you can, and you'll be fine if you decide to become a lawyer. That would be my tip for the day for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so good luck, and maybe we'll talk again. Is Margarita still around?
Here I am.
All right. So, Margarita, you mentioned something the other day about the criminalization of immigration, and I wanted to see if you wanted to discuss that a little. First of all, I've got a couple of people here we got to say hello to. My wife is on the air, so let me say hi to my wife. Hi, Angie, I'm here. I'm glad you're watching. You know.
Hi, Carlos' wife.
Angie's her name. You can see her name right there. But she's got one of those logos without a face too. So, and then there's Lisa Murdoch. Oh, Lisa, another one with logo. Everyone's not putting their face on their logo. Hi, Lisa. So we know at least 3 people are bold out there. Feel free to ask a loaded question because I will be sure to pass it on to Margarita to answer. I'm passing the buck today. Anyway, okay, so back to the criminalization of immigrants.
Well, the reality is it's something we've seen for a long time. It's not a new thing. However, under the Trump regime, it's intensified 100 times. And a big example of that would be the DACA students, because they are vetted. They go through a long process of being accepted into that program until they finally receive their approval. And previously, they were seen as model potential future citizens, and they are huge contributors to our country. Now, Trump has turned around. On the one hand, he has said, oh, we're going to keep on going with DACA. And then in the very next breath, he's saying they're gang members, they're selling drugs, they're committing various crimes. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, these are great people and these are criminals. And basically, that's what he's doing at one and the same time.
You know, I again, there's another article that I posted just this morning about the number of arrests that are occurring at courthouses across the country. There's no exact number, and the article I thought was, you know, was fairly objective. But what it did mention was one thing that the Trump administration, one of their slogans that they're pushing, which is that Blue Lives Matter. That, you know, that the police officers, their safety is a concern, that when they go and arrest, you know, the more violent criminals. But the article also mentioned that so many of the arrests outside the courthouse aren't necessarily the violent criminals. Is this the criminalization that you're talking about? Is that a reflection of the criminalization that you're talking about?
There are places. I mean, we've seen some of these arrests in courthouses when people thought they were going into safe situations. I mean, we have a man, one of our members, who was hit by a drunk driver coming home from work on his bicycle, and he's had to go to court to testify as the victim. As an undocumented person, he puts himself at risk of being picked up at the same time, you know. And
when, go ahead.
So, you know, so he is not doing anything against anybody. He's simply contributing. He works, he pays his taxes. He's lived here for almost 20 years. This kind of thing. We have other women going in domestic violence cases, and women and men, but mostly women. And again, they are victims, but now they're at risk. So, I mean, what I saw an article, I'm sure you probably did too, you know, the Houston police chief talking about the level of crime is still there, but they're having the police job is much harder to try to find out, you know, get victims to testify, get people in the communities to talk, have people go to courthouses. They're afraid to go to courthouses. They're afraid to go to schools. They're afraid to go to churches. They're afraid to come out of their houses. And that's not right.
You know, what I've seen in more recent times, people come into my office, and a lot of them now are talking about the U visa, right?
Yeah.
I'm the victim of a crime. And a lot of them are really stretching the U visa, where their case is really weak. The chances of winning are really slim. And I try to warn them that, wait a minute, with the Trump administration, even if you're a victim, you could end up being the criminal to the Trump administration. So do you really want to go forward with chasing a U visa when it can backfire on you? And a lot of them want to go forward and trying to discourage them. Like, look, I'm on your side. I would love for you to get a green card someday. I would love for you to be legal someday. But
Yeah.
I don't believe in putting you at risk. But unfortunately, there's proponents of that strategy in their community. And I don't know if the proponents are well-meaning or if they're just trying to earn a quick profit and they really don't care what happens to the immigrant. Have you seen any of that where you're at?
With U visa, we find a real mix. I mean, people, if you walk a block away, you're going to run into 10 or 20 people who are all going to be experts on everything, who basically are passing on gossip or chisme, as we say in Spanish. And so then people are going to come, oh, you know, Juan or Maria or whoever told me that I could get a U visa. And, you know, as you say, some of these cases are very weak to begin with. So we wouldn't necessarily recommend that they move forward. If it's a really valid case, you know, we'll try to move it forward. But again, you have to see the whole circumstances. We had a situation in Newark where they were not certifying these visas. I mean, if I'm a victim of violence, then some official person has to sign off that that really happened. And if the police refuse to cooperate, then I have a problem. Then I'm not going to have a case, no matter what happened. And we've had that problem in Newark, here in New Jersey. We've had that problem here in Freehold, especially among women who are the primary victims of violence. So we, you know, we have to look at the whole situation and see what's viable and what's not.
Have you heard about a lot of cases of people pushing, promoting, encouraging people to go forward with the weak cases? Not the street smart lawyer. I mean, the ordinary immigrant who the average immigrant who knows a little bit because they've read the news, but someone who is recognized as a semi-expert in the community or a semi-trusted individual who's pushing that angle without explaining the nuances to them. Have you experienced that?
Yes, we have. I mean, sadly, like I was saying, we have this world full of experts and sadly, a lot of them really are not experts. So, and people who are vulnerable and are victimized in one way or another. So then if someone comes along and says, oh, you could do this or you could do that, they think, oh, you know, they think that some opportunity that they should grab a hold of. But, you know, one is some of these people giving this advice simply aren't qualified to give any advice at all. We have problem with notaries acting as attorneys, and simply people who call themselves experts who are not. And so people have to be really careful who they take advice from.
I have a question for you from Lisa Murdoch. It says, so that puts all of us in more danger, doesn't it? What's your response to her?
By that, you're talking about the whole U visa situation?
I think she might be talking about the attitude towards victims trying to come forward, whether it's a U visa, Violence Against Women Act, a victim, or any of those situations. You know, someone's been robbed, I think that's what she's referring to. I'm guessing.
I think that one of the things that we find happening now is we find things flipping around so that victims are seen as the people causing problem. And that's therefore a victim, as in a victim of domestic violence, can go to a courthouse and be the one who's end up being arrested. And that's what people have to be really careful about. And so in that sense, yes, it puts everybody in more danger. And this is what, say, like my guy who was hit by a drunk driver while coming home from work on his bicycle, you know, we feared for him going into the Superior Court to be a witness. Would he be arrested?
So what's a better approach that law enforcement should be taking?
Well, for one thing, victims, witnesses, they need to be able to come forward and speak with police or speak with counselors, speak with people in hospitals, social service agencies freely without feeling like that's going to come back and an ICE agent is going to come into the picture. Just we've been reading about these people in the schools who are there supposed to be protecting students, but they're passing information on to ICE, and then they're taking out students and charging them with being gang members.
So is the local police? Is the local police there also working with ICE, or are they saying ICE, you do your thing and we do our thing?
They say that they do not work with ICE, but the reality is that they do. And of course, one thing we have here in our county is our county, Monmouth County, New Jersey, has a contract, a 287G contract with the federal government. That means that, as you know, that it's really in our courthouse, in our county courthouse, any of those officers in there are ICE agents, as well as county police officers. So that in itself, it means that you go to court, instead of being innocent until you're proven guilty, your record is looked up. Are you documented or undocumented? If you're undocumented, boom, you can go right up to detention.
So Lisa wrote that. Yes, she was talking about limiting the rights of people to testify, and which to her means that people are not going to be able to go to court because they're afraid, of themselves getting picked up. So that's what she commented on in terms of her original comments. Now, what I wanted to ask you about was, you also mentioned some problems or some issues surrounding suspected gang members, suspected youth gang members. Would you like to discuss that?
Yes. I mean, first off, it's important to clarify, in no way do we support gang activity. We don't. That being said, it's so important to stay with our legal process, to have a process of innocent until proven guilty, to have due process of law when someone is charged with anything, be it gang activity or anything else. We had a case not long ago where two gentlemen went to court. The ICE officer stood up and said, we have their recorded testimony admitting that they were gang members, so therefore it's an open and closed case. The lawyer then asked for the evidence, and they started fudging around and saying, well, they weren't so sure they had it. He then made a motion before the judge to ask for the evidence against his client. The judge denied that evidence, which means we then have to fight to go above a judge. And that makes a very difficult legal battle, as I'm sure you know.
So are you talking about, was this inside like the regular state court system? Or was it immigration court? Federal court. But it wasn't immigration court. It was federal court.
Yeah, immigration court.
Now, you've heard the term, have you heard the term immigration, which is, it was coined by a Denver law professor. Have you heard that term? Crimmigration.
Sure.
Okay, basically, yeah. Well, basically, it's the intersection of criminal law and immigration. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that, I often tell clients, they come in with some criminal records and they need to try to do something with them, to remove them from the records or to deal with it. They might have let it expire, they have a warrant. I always note that, look, there's two types of criminal lawyers. There's the criminal lawyer that understands immigrants, the differences with immigrants in criminal law, and immigrants and the regular citizens that don't have the same problems immigrants have. And it doesn't matter whether the immigrant's undocumented or a permanent resident, because they each have their own set of rules and regulations they have to meet, which could still get them in trouble. So I often tell people, look, you've got to find a criminal defense attorney that understands the immigrants, needed to be evaluated and helped differently than U.S. citizens who are facing possible convictions. Do you have similar problems on the East Coast?
Completely. And I mean, when someone comes in our door with a case, even if it's a case of driving without a license, if it's no matter how small or how big, we tell them your lawyer must understand the immigration implications of the charges, because we have had, I mean, under federal law, immigrants are supposed to be advised of that. They're supposed to be advised of that by judges, by prosecutors, by lawyers. But you and I both know that the reality is it's not happening a lot of times. And we've had horrible cases where people were told to plead guilty, and then from there they were deported, and maybe they were guilty and maybe they weren't, but there was no real due process that happened there. They were just shuffled along. And I could stay here days giving you those stories, sadly. So it's something that we inform people very quickly. Have a lawyer that understands the immigration implications. Yeah.
So do you, when someone comes to you with that kind of problem, do you give referrals? Do you have criminal defense attorneys you trust?
We do. And sometimes, I mean, we have immigration attorneys. We have some who are immigration and criminal attorneys. And then we have some who are immigration and, that'll work as teams, two attorneys together, an immigration attorney, and a criminal attorney, or even attorneys doing work accidents and, other things that aren't necessarily criminal. The lawyers have to be aware of that, have to be aware of the immigration status, because, I mean, we had a work accident case that was 100% disability that went to the Superior Court judge, and he said, he's illegal, he gets nothing. And we had to go, we had that judge removed from the case, and it was taken to the higher judge, and the guy got 100% disability. But it's a battle that's there, and in every case to some extent.
Yeah, what I have found when I did both criminal law, criminal defense, and immigration defense, sometimes my strategic moves in immigration court would be challenged by the immigration judge, not even the immigration trial, but the judge would come down hard at me and saying, well, aren't you the attorney in the criminal case? Can't you make it move faster? Can't you do that? And so eventually, I made the strategic choice that my freedom as an immigration lawyer is greater if I just solely focus on immigration law, and I try to turn things over to, a criminal defense attorney. The problem is finding the ones that really care about the immigrants, and they're willing, if necessary, to take it to trial, that they're willing to file the motions, the harsh motions against judges to make things happen in state or federal court. Frankly, I haven't found a very big group, and so I tend not to make referrals, which is not good, but I'd rather not be blamed for making a referral to someone who really falls flat for the immigrant.
Yeah, I mean, here we tend to be kind of a family, even though we deal with a lot of people, but still, our people really generally like us to kind of handhold them, and we work together very closely with the attorneys, which can be immigration attorneys, can be accident, can be, many can be traffic or family, can be many things, but then a lot of times they're interwoven. These cases, it's not just one thing. A person has this mixture. We're not so isolated into little boxes.
Hi, there's a question from Chastity that I'll post right now that you may want to address. She says she's wondering if ICE will start posting themselves in immigration court, arresting people after they attend their court date. You want to take a stab at that, or?
Well, I think ICE already has gone to court sometimes, some places, not everywhere, thankfully. And we have had them take people prior to a decision being made, you know, as they were going to go for their immigration case. And that's a horrible thing. I mean, because court cases should be allowed to move forward. That it's one of the reasons why we do and many organizations around the country do, supporting people when they go for ICE check-ins and supporting people when they go for their court dates. We recently we had about 30 people from various organizations with a father of 6 here who they wanted to do a kind of rush deportation. And everybody knew that. And we packed that courtroom, and sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't, but we try.
Yeah. Well, you know, speaking on a personal level, the problem if they were going to ICE, the question, and I'm not sure what Chastity's referring to, but the question is whether they're there for the case itself, the individuals in the case, or for the people they bring with them, who may be in a similar undocumented immigrant status. You know, I've heard stories of individuals, even attorneys sending individuals, a wife, to post a bond for the husband, and the wife doesn't have papers, and she goes downstairs in the basement where the ICE office is, and she's trying to post bond, and she's undocumented. So the next thing you know, she's thrown in court, and you go, Jesus Christ, what was that all about? I mean, you know, folks should know better and ask questions. It's the same thing with witnesses. Even personally, I don't even submit declarations on the penalty of perjury from someone that's undocumented. I just don't, which is why there's a lot of programs where people are flagging themselves and they're telling government. If the immigration official can get folks, they're gonna have to get them on their own. I'm not gonna give them those leads if I can avoid it. But I know that, you know, that if I stood outside immigration court, especially in, say, somewhere like downtown Los Angeles, that line goes way around the corner. And there's a lot of people they could just start asking people for ID, and there would be some serious problems.
The same. I mean, you go there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's a long line. You know, I mean, the other thing that we have to be really careful about is visiting our loved ones. One thing we're fortunate here in Monmouth County is that if somebody has a valid passport, they are able to go in. So far, they're able to go into the Monmouth County Jail and visit. As soon as that person is transferred to somewhere else, to a detention center, to another county jail, we recommend that they stay far away from that place and do not try to go there and visit their loved one, because they can just be taken in, and so we don't want that to happen. So, well,
Marguerite, I want to say thank you to you and your great volunteers there. Vivian and Noah, and before closing, okay, I mean, like they work for free. I mean, their interns are working for free, and as you said, you know, Margarita didn't say it this show, but she doesn't draw a salary for working with Casa Freehold. So I'd like you to make your pitch for a donation again. Are you ready, Margarita? I mean, you guys do great work over there, and you're a nonprofit, and believe me, I have my nonprofit experience, so I know how hard that is to raise funds. So you want to give people your address and phone number so that they can perhaps make a contribution?
We would certainly appreciate it. You know, we're Casa Freehold at number 6 Throckmorton Street in Freehold, New Jersey, 07728. And my phone, which is very public, the office is 732-409-3111, and the cell is 732-492-1852.
All right.
I was gonna say, if you'd, all of us work for free. We're all volunteers. All of our money goes directly to helping the community. You can donate online at www.casafreehold.org, where you'll see at the bottom of the page, there's a little donate via PayPal button, which would be a huge help. You know, we're ready to survive basically off of donations from contributors and as well as members of the community, and it just sort of day by day, every penny helps us survive and continue to help the community.
Yeah, we just now paid our August rent. Yay!
Yay! Hey, Noah.
We're doing
Noah, you don't need to become a lawyer. You need to go into public relations. That was really nice. And one last thing before we close, I'm going to put both, because they're college students, they got to be put on the spot here. Okay, both Vivian and Noah, one piece of advice for an undocumented immigrant. One piece of advice. One nugget.
Stay safe, stay connected to the community.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a big thing. The community is a huge resource. And I think we've had a lot of situations where people are sort of back into a corner, brought to immigration court, but then the community rallies around them. Everyone shows up at their court date, and we just give them support. I think that's very important to stay connected with the community and active. And there's organizations like Casa Freehold everywhere around the nation. So I'd recommend to find, if not us, similar organization to get involved with, help other undocumented immigrants, and work together to just just work together.
People are ready to help. So
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone very much for joining me. Episode 7, Casa Freehold. Margarita, I really appreciate your comments and your co-workers there. We didn't get much into MS-13, so we may have to come back and do another show later. But thank you very much again for joining me on Immigration Live. And I hope all your family, friends, and supporters watch the show, and I hope they all contribute some donations to you. Anyway,
my sister Debbie's out there, and lots of other people we love.
Yeah, they need to next time say hi to us and ask a loaded question. Anyway, I'll see you all very soon. Take care, and good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Know someone who might be interested in this video? Then please take a moment to like and share it with them. Also, if you would like more videos on immigration, just click on the subscribe button. And here's a little bonus, a short guide that you can download for free by clicking on the link on the description box or the square-shaped image. Plus, if you have ideas for videos you'd like to see, write a short comment below, or feel free to contact me at carlos@bataraimmigrationlaw.com. My name is Carlos Batara. I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll be talking again very, very soon.